I didn't want to scare you, but I know no matter what I say, I'm going to scare y'all. It's hard when there's no volume, when there's no music. Hello. Welcome to. Oh no, one sec. There we go. Okay. Welcome to the secret stream. Y'all know what the first rule of secret stream is? Y'all remember? I don't think I've ever said it, but it should be clear. We don't tell Ursula about secret stream. Dance, dance. Bones jump scare. No. I feel like my presentation is slightly. Let's see. Did that fix it? It feels like it's slightly like off center, you know? I feel like it's like this. Oops. Spoilers. Currently last minute submitting taxes will be head in hands moment. Oh no. Well, good luck with your taxes. Good luck with your taxes. Sorry, I'm just gonna get settled in for a bit here. I think I need like a pillow or something. I'm gonna be here a while, so one sec. Ugh. Gotta have a comfortable shrimp setup. Exactly. I turned around and the cats are making out in my seat. Like little monsters. Oh. More spoilers. Whoopsies. So I need my keyboard close. So many spoilers. Oh my goodness. So this is a continuation of a few streams I've been doing. So we've been doing the slowly getting through all of my OCs, and I've done 2 of these streams so far, and I've edited one and I'm halfway through the other. Mod's bones keep spelling spoilers. So yeah, y'all are allowed to talk to me. That's fine. We can chit chat. You can ask questions during the secret stream about what's being put on. Pretty sure I've fallen asleep to the second one. That's valid. These are long, and eventually we're gonna put them all together. Did I grab water? No, but should I? Yes. Okay, I didn't plan good enough. I'm gonna grab water. We gotta stay hydrated for this. It's my first secret stream. Where are the others? There were others? Yes. Secret streams are always secret. We go, shh, we don't tell. Sometimes we game, sometimes we PowerPoint. They're posted on YouTube and Discord, yeah. So, yeah, and all the other ones will be compiled into a thing. Like the gaming ones. Yeah, I got a little picture for the gaming ones now so that I'll be able to better advertise it. I've been thinking about maybe uploading like the edited gaming ones to the the vlog channel, turn it into a gaming channel. That's a classic. But we'll see. I'm not sure on that. Um, but for now, I think we should just start, right? Oh, it's been a while. But we have to pretend that this is all contiguous. I got penalized on my taxes for not having insurance? No. That sucks. American things, am I right? Okay, so we have to pretend that this is all one contiguous thing. I got water, I got comfort. It's time. It's time to talk. It's time to talk about honey walls. I was an award nominated honey walls. One of my novels. One of my few novels. So we're gonna talk all about honey walls. So what is Honey Walls? Like I said, it is a novel and it is the first one that I ever published. I think I published it in 2019. It's a cozy story. It's probably one of my coziest stories in existence. I don't write cozy often. And we're going to have some spoilers in this presentation here. I don't want to go full spoilers into it. I'm going to go spoilers into the RPs because you can't read them anywhere, so I might as well give you the satisfaction of knowing the story. However, with Honey Walls, because it is a book you can purchase and read, yeah, I will try to be as spoiler free as possible. We're going to just talk generally about the characters. Nothing much, I think. I have no idea, and I've been here, yeah, since the beginning of the stream. Yeah, we're just starting. I finally got all my everything ready. Okay, so everyone's hungry. Oh no. Oh no. It's cozy snack time. All right. So, the first character is the main character. We have Ro Garou Jr. He is a very serious man. He does not believe in magic whatsoever. Very key portion of Ro's personality. And he doesn't have emotions. Do I only do the 3 points? Sorry. Whoa. Okay, we only did the 3 points. Sorry. I have to get back into this. All right. Starting doing this take from the beginning. So we have Ro Garou Jr. He is a very serious man. He is a no-nonsense kind of fella, and he doesn't believe in magic, which is not what you would expect for a point about someone. Like, why is this an important point about Ro? It's because Honey Walls is a pretty magical story, actually, and he doesn't believe in any of it. He is in a constant state of denial about all the magical nonsense that will hereto unfold as we delve into other characters. Ro is trans. That's important. It's an important note that he is trans. It yeah, I don't know how to get into it further than that. And he has no emotions. He's a very blunted man. He doesn't experience emotion for some reason. He hasn't since he was a small child. And yeah, that's Ro. That's our main character. Very boring potato man. Then we have Chrysocolla Piper. She is Ro's girlfriend, and she is a psychic medium. See what I'm saying about not believing in magic? Ro doesn't believe in any of this psychic nonsense. Chrysocolla believes that she can talk to the dead through seances, and she goes to like a spiritualist church. But yeah, Ro doesn't believe in any of that. And she is just a ray of sunshine. She's a happy character. She's very opposite to Ro, and they kind of bounce off each other. He chose to be called. He chose to be named Rogaro, but he's a serious man. The names in Honeywalls are all very fun. She goes by Chris, actually. Chrysicola is a mouthful. Then we have Zelda Piper, and she is Chris's mother. She cannot stand Ro. She hates him, and she makes a point that she hates him not because he is trans, but because he is him, and he is a boring potato man who has evil in his heart. She tries to set Chris up with someone else who is trans, but Chris likes Ro, so yeah, and she's short. She's very short. She's a petite little woman who lives above a coffee shop, I believe, and yeah, she's very magical, very whimsical. We love Zelda. She's very strong lady, strong short lady, and we love her. Then we have Fox McKenzie. Speaking of trans, Fox is a Z Zer hottie. Z is who Zelda tries to set Ro up with, but they end up just being friends with Zer. Z is a healer at the church, and yeah, this is based on my own experiences growing up. I went to a spiritualist church as a child, and there were healings and spirit mediums and all that fun stuff. So yeah, Z is into that. Chris is teaching Zer to be a healer. That is a thing, and yeah, they're friends with. They are friends with Chris. All right, then we have Reverend Samantha. That's just a picture of an angel. I didn't have much to go off of with Reverend Samantha here. Uh, she's a reverend at the church that Chris goes to and Fox goes to. Seems nice. I don't know. She's not really a huge character in the story, honestly. Just a nice lady. Then we have Rose Garou. So that is Ro's mother. And she is a writer. She is a writer of children's stories. She writes a character called Oxnard. He's a little hedgehog, goes on adventures, and she dies. Not Oxnard. Oxnard doesn't die. Rose dies. She dies at the beginning of the book. It's kind of the inciting incident for everything. Yeah, that's Rose. Then we have Claire Waters. So Claire is Rose's biggest fan. She loves all of Rose's work. What is the cause of death? She she gets sick. She ended up being sick for a long time and then kind of passes away. Is it a secret? Fox is the best name. Z is my favorite character automatically, and I just figured out about her. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. So Claire is a huge fan of Rose's writing, and that's because Claire kind of wants to be a writer, but she's scared of doing so. She lives in a bookstore, call her Book Girl, and yeah, she wants to write books, but she's in a small town and doesn't believe in herself fully. And also, she's gay. She's very, very gay. Might have a bit of a crush on Rose, honestly. And actually, she dated Ro before he transitioned, way back in the day, because they all lived in a small town together called Cherrywood, and Roe eventually moved out of there, um, where he now lives in the city with like Chris, Zelda, and all of those people. But yeah, Claire is still living in the small town. Then we have Dandelion Fletcher. Oh, I forgot to mention. So, like, there's little bits of like little art on the side, the little gray, black, and white things. That's all images from the book because I had an illustrator do all the illustrations for Honeywells, just so you know. But this is just a dandelion. So Dandelion Fletcher, or Dan, as he's known, is Claire's best friend forever. They've been thick as thieves. It used to be him, Claire, and Roe, and they were just all best friends, and they didn't all want to be writers. Roe wanted to be an illustrator. But yeah, they all were best friends. His parents end up dying, not during the story. This was way, way back. They passed away. He ended up being raised by his grandmother, and he is the writer of the local newsletter. He doesn't have huge aspirations outside of Cherrywood these days. He just wants to vibe. He might end up taking over the bakery that his grandmother runs. Claire's not too into that idea. Claire dreams of more, but Dan's pretty cool with what he's got. We have Mrs. Fletcher. She wants Dan and Claire to marry. She ships it. She's a bit of a phobe, huge phobe, honestly. She's super transphobic to Roe when he comes back to town for his mother's funeral, and she is not into the idea of Claire being a lesbian. What's kind of funny to note is that I was writing Magpie and Honeywells around the same time, and I find that Honeywells is just a very cozy magpie if you take time to think about it. And Cherrywood is so much like Pinewood, it's crazy. Why would you put cupcakes on the screen? You know we're hungry. I'm sorry. We'll get past the homophobic cupcakes really quick. Yeah, so she is a baker. She bakes for all of Cherrywood, the small town, like that's her thing. And yeah, like I said, Dan is maybe considering being a baker. He does deliveries for the bakery nowadays. Fun fact, I used to live in a town called Pinewood. Damn, that's crazy. You got it completely right in Magpie. Next, we have Heath Waters. Heath is Claire's dad. He was close with Rose before she passed away. Actually, for a long time, leading up to her being sick and whatnot. But yeah, he was very close with Rose, and he used to babysit Roe. And yeah, that's Heath. He's all right. We got Mrs. Waters. I don't know her name. It's not mentioned in the book. I might have it in my notes, but I didn't find it. But yeah, she's Claire's mom. She owns the bookstore with Heath, and she's a very uptight lady. She also probably wants Claire to marry Dan, but that's kind of Honeywells for you, Cherrywood, I guess. We have Azalea Blackthorn. Azalea Blackthorn is the funeral director in Cherrywood. So her family, all the Blackthorns, have worked in the funeral home for generations. That's kind of how Honeywells works. Well, I guess that's how Cherrywood works. Like everyone just kind of stays in the family business. So that's what she does. She's a small town goth. She's very cool. I like Azalea. She doesn't really show up much, but yeah, she's friends with Claire and she's cool, but she's not one of like the main group of buddies or whatever. Next we have Grandma Betty. I'm sorry to make you suffer with more food if you're hungry. Grandma Betty collects bells. She is known for her collection of bells. She owns the B&B. Um, she runs it, operates it, or whatever. Uh, the bed and breakfast. Ro ends up staying there during the funeral, and she is Barry's grandma. She's not like a huge character. We're kind of into like some of the side characters of Cherrywood right now. So then there's Barry Cobbler. I love the name so much in Honey Walls. So he's Barry. His name is Barry. I want to be Grandma Betty when I grow up. He's a teen, I think, or 20s or something. I think he's a teen. Um, I think Claire and Ro used to babysit him as a lad, and yeah, he works at the B&B for his grandma Betty. Next, we have Mrs. Poppy. I have very little that to say about Mrs. I have very little to say about Mrs. Poppy. She lives in Cherrywood. She is the one who plans the memorial service after the funeral. Ro doesn't get invited to it, side note. And she's old. That's kind of all I know about Miss Poppy. First name Barry, last name Cobbler. Exactly. Hello. All right, so let's get into some of the fantastical elements of Honey Walls. So we have Craft Feather Crow, and she is a crow made of craft feathers, but only Ro can see her as a crow made of craft feathers. Everyone else in the world sees her as just a crow. She comes flying into the city, and Chrysicola sees her as a crow, but Ro can see her as a little craft creature, and she can talk to him, and no one else can hear her talk but Ro can. And he thinks this is ridiculous. What about Ro's dad? We will get to Ro's dad. Crow, but not in Crow Story. Yeah, we have a lot of crows. So, yeah, like I said, she shows up in town one day to deliver an invitation to Rose's funeral. So she shows up and gives that to Ro. He freaks out about this because he has cut off contact with all of his family and all of this magical nonsense. Like I was saying at the beginning, Ro does not believe in magic. Magic isn't real. Go away, bird. Stop. But yeah, there's after a whole bunch of nonsense, he eventually agrees and goes back to Cherrywood for the funeral. But yeah, that's Craft Feather Crow. She harasses him, like I said. Oh, that's all I have to say. She harasses him. She is a very wise creature among the fantasy creatures in Honey Walls. She's seen as very knowledgeable, and she's also very greedy. And she won't give away advice without you giving her something shiny or interesting in return. Okay, grab some water one sec. Next, we have Tissue Dove. Tissue Dove is Crow's friend. It's hard to tell. Crow doesn't really like her, but they hang out. She's not very greedy. She's very kind. She likes to help. And she's glittery. They're both glittery. Like Craft Feather Crow, I think, has like purple glitter, and Tissue Dove has like silver glitter. They're cool. We like them. Birds are good. Oh, it's adjusting. Then we have Lace Mouse. So Lace Mouse lives outside of Honey Walls, and I realize at this point that I've not mentioned Honey Walls at all. And Honey Walls is the name of the house that Rose Garreau owns and lives in. So she lives just outside Rose's house, and she has to move because Ro can't cook. Because after his mom passes away. The house is going to be given to him. It's in his name. And she knows that Ro is a terrible cook and needs to move and start a new life. She's marrying a field mouse and they're going to live under an apple tree together. So that's Lace Mouse for you. Now we have Oxnard. I mentioned Oxnard a little bit. And yes, he is an old stuffed toy hedgehog of Rose, who is also a book character in Rose's book. He can talk. He's got a little backpack where he keeps his juice box in, and he's just a little guy. We love Oxnard. He goes on an adventure, and he left. He went on a big adventure. He's headed out into the world, and he's looking for a place called Sky World. So that's where he is looking for. That's where Oxnard left. He's very brave. We love Oxnard. We have Righty Gray Sock Cat. So Righty is a cat that lives in honey walls. He is made of socks, actually, but most people see him as a fat gray cat who just kind of flops everywhere. We love him. He's very sleepy, but he's also very wise and has a lot of insightful advice, as most cats do. Then we have Otter. He's a pirate. He speaks with a very thick pirate accent. He lived on the island of Lost Socks. When I saw Oxnard, I immediately thought, gotta go fast. So yeah, Otter lives on the island of Lost Socks. He's a little sock otter. And he befriends Oxnard when Oxnard is on his adventure. Oxnard rolls up to Sock Island, and him and Otter thinks like maybe they could eat him like a sea urchin. But they decide not to because Oxnard is like, what if I taught you guys to read? Because Oxnard is working on his memoir at the time. This is Weasel. He is Otter's friend. He also considers eating Oxnard. He's a pirate also, kind of. He goes on an adventure with Otter and Oxnard because eventually Oxnard convinces Otter to go on an adventure with him, and they head out to Skyworld together. And he is up to trouble. You can just tell. Just look at him. He looks like he's up to trouble. He's got sneaky little eyebrows. This is Chester. Chester is a gambler. This is probably how you guys would perceive Chester, whereas he is actually made of socks. He is a gambler, though. He meets Ro when Ro is thrown into laundry prison. There's a whole thing where Ro goes on an adventure in this story, but eventually Ro does end up in laundry prison, and his cellmate is Chester, the gambling ferret. I believe that Chester was sent to jail because he was gambling with children or something. He was gambling with young ferrets. I don't know. Chester is up to crimes, basically. And yeah, that's Chester. I kind of love Chester. He's sly. He's scheming. We love him. Then we have Pillow Bear. Pillow Bear is a judge of sock crimes. She is a well-respected member of the Sock Island. She's kind of in charge. She's an authoritative voice for socks and crimes relating to them. She is made of pillows and scribbles, and we love Pillow Bear. Then we have Lefty Gray Sock Fox. Fun fact, I made a Sock Fox Lefty Gray for Ursula. I could have taken a picture of the actual Lefty Gray, but instead we have this little gray fox to look at instead. Lefty is a defense attorney. She is not very good at it, but she is trying her best. She's never won a case yet, but she tries, and she volunteers to defend Ro because Ro has to have a legal battle because Honeywells is actually about a huge legal battle of Ro being accused of being a bad friend, and Lefty must defend him. He must defend against Mrs. Dress Socks, the pungent prosecutor. She is a skunk and a prosecutor. That's that. She's very fancy, and you don't mess with Miss Dress Socks, you know? Like, she is going to put you away for forever for your crimes against socks. You know, that's there you go. We've got Righty Rainbow Scribble Ferret. He is it's gonna be one of these ones, but he's a witness in he is a witness for Roe's crimes. He used to be friends with Roe, and Roe ditched him. And you see, what Roe is being charged with is being a bad friend, right? So Righty Rainbow Scribble Ferret, or Scribble, I believe, is what he's called. He attests to the fact that Roe did, in fact, abandon all of his friends. This is Yellow. Yellow is also a witness. Yellow stole a letter from Roe's pocket. Specifically, he steals the letter. It's a letter that Roe's mom wrote to him about her passing away, and it paints Roe in a bad light. So that's Yellow's thing, and Yellow's very nervous to be on the stand. So yeah. We were asking about Roe's dad. Well, here is Roe's dad, Aster Garreau. So he is Roe's dad. And he left to work when Roe was really little. So Roe's mom got sick, and Aster left to go make money in the big city. So yeah, he lives in Skyworld, which is what the big city is called, and also the place that Oxnard is looking for. So yeah, that's Aster. And then we have Sundew Garreau, the villain. So Sundew is Roe's twin sister. They look very alike. They're identical twins, but Roe's trans, remember? Ursula sometimes forgets this. Then who did Roe name himself after? Roe is named after his mother, because he's Roe Garreau Jr. So he used to be Rose Garreau Jr. So Roe is like short for Roe. It's like a masculinized Rose. But yeah, so yeah, Sundew. I kind of love Sundew. I haven't thought about Sundew in a while. She stole his heart when he was little. So way back at the beginning of this section's PowerPoint on Honeywalls, way back at the beginning of the Honeywalls PowerPoint section, I talked about how Roe doesn't have emotion. That is because his sister is magical, and when he was a child, she reached into his chest and took out his heart, and that has made it so that he can't have emotions anymore. My middle name is Rose, and my parents call me Rose sometimes. That's cute. Yeah, so she took out his heart. I think she ate it, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like a rose she pulled out of his chest. It's very Beauty and the Beast vibes. Anyways, yeah, so she pulls out his heart and eats it. It's destroyed, whatever, and he no longer has emotions because of it. Hey, Raymond. And nobody likes Sundew. Not Claire, not Dan, not nobody. She's just got bad vibes, and yeah, that's Sundew. So that, I believe, is everything about Honeywalls. So we will move on to the RP section. My goodness. Do you think I covered Honeywalls enough? The thing with like the books is I don't want to like spoil them completely, because they are books that people can buy and read. So yeah, if you're interested in Honeywalls and want to know all of the details, you can read the book. You can go on itch.io. I think it's like $5. You should go back through every character. Didn't get it the first time. No. Do we want to do science or witches? I think we're doing science. I'm sorry. All right, guys. So that means we are moving on to the RP section of this presentation. So we've gone through all of the comics and all of my novels, minus one glaring exception. So we're going to move into the RPs, and the RPs are going to be hopefully more in detail because there's nowhere else for you to learn about them other than here. I didn't include every single one of the RPs that I have done. I have just included the ones from my current era of RPing. I have old videos going into some of my older characters. Some of them have been mentioned before, but this is my Discord era RPs. I didn't want to find... It's just very hard to find information on all of my old RPs because I didn't do them all in Discord. I've used them on I made them in MSN and Messenger and Hangouts and all sorts of other defunct platforms. And some of it was done out loud. So we're only going to be doing all the ones on Discord. So yeah. I just used my Audible credits for Honeywells. Thank you. All right. So the Science Voyage. What is this RP about? It is inspired by the voyage of the SS Beagle. Is the RP about Dad being taken to the fairy world here? No, it is not. Because I did all of those ones for Inktober, right? There's a bunch of new ones here, though. So this one is inspired by the voyage of the SS Beagle and Darwin and all of the explorer times. It is about researchers that run into a creature called an Obscura. So Obscura is the genus name. So there's all sorts of different types of Obscuras. And they're a magical creature that's kind of thought to be extinct, but actually it uses magic to hide itself. So the researchers, the main character researchers in this, they come across an Obscura when they're doing a dig for artifacts and stuff. One of them is very into magic and studying magic, and they find it and they all get attacked, and then they wake up and it feels like it was all just a dream, and they go back to the same place and the same thing happens, but then they wake up in their homes even further away, and their family were oh, you were in such a daze or whatever. So the Obscura can change it so that reality becomes dream. They can really affect memory and stuff. That's how they have hidden from society. So yeah, so they're researching all sorts of different things, but one of them is researching magic specifically, and a lot of this RP has to do with the Obscura. And so they all eventually end up stranded on a desert island together, because of shenanigans that happen due to their curses. Their boat crashes and they end up on this island, but this island actually is hidden and overseen by the Obscura Paradisa, the Paradise Obscura, if you will. And yeah, it's a big spooky thing that we will get into. So yeah, also there's curses. So the What you'll find with most of these RPs is we do lots of curses because, like I've said, RPs are where I just do like whatever I want to do, and we just want to do curses. So there's plenty of curses, and when they are attacked by the Obscura initially, a curse is laid on all of them to stop them from doing their research, basically, to get away from me. So we have Victoria. So she is the magical researcher that I mentioned. She is the one who locates the Obscura initially. She's very astute. She's very autistic. She hyper focuses on all of her work. She has tons of her notes. She doesn't always want to eat because she's focused. And I love Victoria. And she ends up cursed to become an owl. She slowly starts turning into an owl over the course of the story, I believe. I don't know for certain because Ursula never revealed to me what the curse was, and when I asked her, she said, I forgot. So I'm making the executive decision to say Victoria was turning into an owl. We have Ernest. Speaking of owls, I just found this cute little owl thing. He doesn't get turned into an owl, but this is Victoria's husband, and he is super nervous worrywart, and she doesn't really tell him how long she's going to be away on this voyage. Spoiler, it was supposed to be several years, but she didn't know how to tell him, so they have a little bit of friction between them when she's leaving, and he's just really sad to see her go because his life revolves around her, and she keeps him calm, and he keeps her fed and makes sure that she takes care of herself. So obviously he's just very upset and worried when she's gone. We didn't end up RPing a lot about Ernest. We didn't end up doing a lot with this RP in general. It kind of floundered out. But yeah, that's Ernest. Next we have Margaret. As you can see, we also didn't do this RP during a time where we were drawing characters a lot. We have a Victoria drawn, and that's it. Ernest looks so sad. Ernest is sad. So Margaret is a geologist. Geologist? Why is that hard to say? Geologist. And she thinks that magic is dumb and fake and not a real science. She is very annoyed when Victoria goes and tries to find this rift. So when they're looking for the Obscura, they never really see or remember the monster. It's erased from their mind and made to feel like a dream. So they find this rift, and it's just a rip through space-time or whatever, where the Obscura is hidden, because the Obscuras live within rifts. But yeah, she locates one and is fascinated by it or whatever, but Margaret thinks this is fake. It's all just dream stuff. And yeah, Margaret's kind of young. She still lives with her mother and her sisters. And yeah, she eventually sinks to the bottom of the ocean. So that's kind of her fate. So what happens to Margaret is they head out on their voyage after they are done with research or whatever. They were doing local research, and they found the Obscura, and they got cursed, and then they go on their voyage. And while on their voyage, she starts coming down with a fever. And then eventually the fever gets so hot that if they touch her face, it burns their fingers. She becomes molten hot, and eventually she's so heavy too, rock, molten rock, that she can barely lift herself up or move. And then she becomes so hot that she starts burning the ship. And she burns a hole into the ship and then ends up in the ammunition area below, and the ship explodes. So thanks, Margaret. Margaret explodes the ship, and then she sinks into the water, and the water cools her down, and her body starts turning to rock, and she becomes like a golem creature at the bottom of the ocean, and a bunch of like fish and creatures start living on her and inside of her crevices. That sounds awful. Rock crevices, like, you know. And yeah, so that's what happens to Margaret. And then she meets a mermaid. There's a mermaid down there. So yeah, this mermaid discovers Margaret at the bottom of the ocean. She was a marine biologist, this mermaid, originally. I forget her name, unfortunately. So she crashed on the same island a long time ago. I think it was 10 years ago. And when she crashed, she started like studying like the shallows. And then she starts doing some snorkeling. And then eventually she starts having like gills and struggles to exit the water. And then, yeah, over time, she is cursed to go deeper and deeper in the ocean. Like her body keeps adapting to deeper into the ocean. So she is like a regular kind of mermaid, and now she's like a deep sea mermaid, and now she's feeling a calling to go even deeper into the trenches below. So that's the mermaid. We have Lucille. Lucille was a botanist. She was part of the original gang, hanging out with Margaret. The mermaid is portrayed by a fish face. Listen. So yeah, Lucille was part of the main gang. She was hanging with Victoria and Margaret, and she starts turning into a carnivorous plant when everything happens. So initially, she and her husband are on like the carriage headed over there, and like flies are swarming around her, and she's like, go away. But yeah, eventually she ends up on the island, and she's like desperate for water, and then she just puts her hands in the water, and she's like, what am I doing? And then bugs, more bugs and more bugs are harassing her, and eventually like her horrible description from Ursula, that her skin unfurls open and grabs the bug and then closes around it. So she's turning into some sort of weird carnivorous plant thing. We never really got through the whole thing. But yeah, that's Lucille. She cries. She's very upset about this. Probably because, I don't know, it's horrible. Hugh is getting represented by a default image of a frog. If you see this frog, if you've seen this frog before, this is just the default image. I forgot to change it. Hugh is Lucille's husband. Like I was saying, he goes in the carriage with her, and is harassed by bugs. He's very stoic. He's very of his time, stoic gentleman. And he is left to watch over the children while she's gone. And that's Hugh. Emma also is I forgot. Okay. Frog equals default. Got it. Yeah, thank you. So Emma is Lucille's youngest. I actually could probably fix this in post. It's annoying, but I can definitely fix this in post. I can just add it because it's not like it changes here, right? So Emma is Lucille's youngest daughter. She is scared of this dog that visits their house all the time. There's like this big scary dog that they call a wolf, like her and her sibling. They call it a big wolf, big scary wolf. And she really doesn't want her mom to leave. And yeah, that's Emma. So Florence is Lucille's oldest sister, I believe. And pretend you didn't see that. And so there's this dog, right, that harasses them. And when their mom leaves one day, like after, and before, I think it's before their dad comes home, they hear their mom in the woods calling to them. And Florence is like, what the hell? And Emma's like, nope, 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 we're not going there. And then they see the big old wolf that's there, and it is looking unwell. And so they go to check on it and they find that it's just like an injured like wolf dog thing, right? And it's got like old wounds, like bullets, because their dad has shot at it before, and other injuries that have like healed poorly, and like it's just not doing well right now. And so Florence is really brave, and he goes to the dog, and he's nice to it, and they bring it into the house. So the dog on its collar is it says its name is Blight, and Blight is the dog that lives in the woods, like I said, and it's actually their oldest sister. So yeah, it was captured. She was captured a long time ago by an Obscura, and they forgot about her because that's what Obscuras do. So they were playing one day, and then they got called by a creature in the forest, the Obscura, and it takes, I believe Blight's name is actually Lily. So Lily gets taken by it, and she is forced to like, I believe it's like a witch. It takes the form of like a fairy tale type witchy creature, and it makes her take care of its house. And it says like if you ever leave, like something horrible will happen to you. And she eventually is just like, nope, I'm leaving. So she leaves, and in leaving she turns into like a wolf, and her dad just sees like a wolf trying to get to the kids and like shoots at it and stuff, and her family never accepts her back. So that's Blight's story. Isn't it delightful? Yeah, so yeah, like I said, she got cursed for trying to escape. Um, but she wants to protect her siblings from the Obscura. So that's what's calling them. That's the one that's using their mom's voice is the Obscura, and Blight is trying to protect them and keep them away. This is Jack. Jack was a sailor. He was on the crew with Victoria, Margaret, and Lucille. He used to be a rich guy. He used to be hot with the ladies. Everyone loved Jack, but he fell on some tough times, did a bit of gambling, messed up his life, ended up a sailor. And he ends up on the island and is in the wreckage, and he has this dream of this beautiful lady, and he's back in his rich posh house, and she's like, what is it you want, Jack? And he's like, I don't know. And exactly like that. And he gets a little kiss on the neck, and then he starts feeling horrible pain, and then he looks up, and she's actually a giant octopus creature, and he's being held by all these little tentacles, I guess. It's a tentacle monster. And he wakes up on the beach. So that was the Obscura Paradisa, the Cthulhu creature that rules the island that they've landed on. So like all the other main cast were cursed by like that other Obscura, but he is cursed by this Paradisa thing. So that's the same thing that ended up cursing the mermaid, is the one that curses Jack. And he wants to be loved by all the ladies, so she turns him into a bird. I just got here and heard tentacle monster. Hello. I've seen enough to know what happens next. Yeah, what happens next is that he's turned into a bird. I think he's turned into either like a peacock or a bowerbird, but I couldn't find a bowerbird. Either way, all the ladies, he will get all the ladies if he is a bird, and all of like the little sucker marks. He wakes up with all of those injuries, and that's where like the feathers start coming out. Yeah, so he's kind of a huge jerk. The ladies are all trying to like figure things out, and he's just being an ass to all of them. So then we have Amelia. I think this is our last character. So Amelia got stranded um, while she was doing research. So she is also on the island when they first get there. She was part of the crew with the mermaid, and she can only speak in bird song. So Jack is like walking down and he starts hearing this bird song that like every single bird in the forest is making in this area, and then she starts talking to him and only birdsong comes out. She also like talks to him like through writing in her little notebook, but it's like getting so full of pages, so full after all this time stranded. And so yeah, she was she ran into like this other type of obscura. So like in this island there's all sorts of like other types of obscura that are a lot lesser to the obscura paradisa, because that is like a big major one that's protecting the whole island, whereas like there used to be a whole bunch of more like magical diversity of species, but they've all been like hunted and exploited by humans, to the point where like you can't find it anymore. So the squid, the Cthulhu creature, has been like taking care of this island. And so there's these like cuckoo birds that what they do is, instead of like repeating other birds songs, they make everything repeat their song to show off how like cool they are. So her voice ended up being erased and taken by this cuckoo bird. And that, I think the cuckoo bird can like use her voice or something. I forget entirely, but yeah, something like that. And so Amelia, through her writing, reveals that many ships have crashed on this island because of the Obscura Paradisa, and she has been stranded here for 10 years. And we learned about some of her other crew, like the mermaid and whatnot. And we were going to explore more characters, but we stopped doing this RP. Big Cthulhu Daddy protecting the island from human nonsense. Exactly. The Paradisa are not evil. They're just animals protecting themselves, okay? So, yeah, that's everything about that RP. I figured that would be a quick one. This one's gonna be hard. This is our last one for tonight. Y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? So this RP went on forever. This familiar in which, unlike the last one, the science voyage RP, this one went on forever and not much happened in it. Okay. You could have chosen anything else to call Cthulhu, and you chose silly. All right, so familiar in which. So, what is this RP about? Move your cursor. Okay. This RP, like I said, went completely off the rails. Not only did it go on forever, it went off the rails. It is so random. And it is about capitalism, I guess. I guess if there is one guiding theme to the familiar and witch RP, it would be that capitalism sucks, okay? So let's start with Sybil. So Sybil is a witch, okay? Sybil is a witch. And she is also a barista. She's a witch and a barista. She lives in a very modern world. It's like our world. They canonically have Twilight and have watched it. And yeah, it's one of those worlds where magic is hidden, right? So she's a witch, but she can't say anything about that. She learned to be a witch by looking into Wicca and like witchcraft, like in the same way that like teens tend to experiment with that. Not knocking Wicca. but then she found out that she has actual magical powers. So that's kind of her deal. And so she has a huge crush on on one of her customers named Melody. Like she's super in love with this woman and she's never been able to talk to her at all. She's completely terrified, but completely in love with Melody. And so she has this great idea to create a friendship spell. Ignore that, a friendship spell, so that they can become closer together. So she makes that and she puts it into Melody's drink orders. Sybil is a bad person. So Melody is an accountant. She is an accountant who is super swamped all the time, incredibly busy, and she, in all of her busyness, gets proposed to by her online boyfriend. She's never met this man in her life, but she is in love with him, and he sends her a ring in the mail, and she says yes immediately. She is in love with this guy. And she is the one that is given love spells in her tea. And eventually, wait, we gotta ignore that. So she's given love spells in her tea. And it's not actually a love spell. Sybil messed up. When she was looking up spells, she completely messed up. And what actually happens is that Sybil turns Melody into her familiar. So she becomes addicted to the magical tea brew, and it drives her crazy. It makes her life terrible, and it turns her into a little fox creature with bat wings and a horn, and she's I love the messy dynamic of a character so infatuated with someone else. They'll do anything other than get close to them. Anything to stay close to them except for just like approaching them normally. Yeah. So yeah, Melody ends up slowly turning into this little fox creature with like a unicorn horn and bat wings. Like she starts by like just like liking the tea or whatever, but then like it slowly starts changing her and she becomes like addicted to it and she can't stop drinking the tea. Um and she tries to stop but she can't. Um and there's like a whole bunch of back and forth about like what to do about it, and eventually like um her and Sybil have to actually talk. I think I'll get into that with other characters though. So I think if we move forward, yes, Olivia. So we have Olivia, and she is Melody's super supportive sister. And she is super worried about her sister because she's been dating this guy online and she's never met him in real life. Sounds like a normal tea enjoyer to me. That's fair. And so as like the transformation is happening to Melody, she eventually reaches out to her sister. I think she does this after Sybil and her start talking, and Sybil fesses up that it is magic and that she just needs to like sit and let the magic happen, and then we'll figure it out and we'll like undo it and everything will be fine. Except Sybil doesn't know what the hell she's doing, and obviously doesn't want is Olivia a bunch of olives. I couldn't think of what else to put for Olivia, so I just put a bunch of olives that looked nice. um so yeah, like Sybil doesn't want like all like the magic stuff getting out or whatever, but Melody is eventually like, no, I'm going to tell my sister. So she emails her sister because she's also starting to have trouble speaking because she's turning into a little fox creature, little gremlin, little familiar. And so she reaches out to her sister and is like, listen, I am turning into a tiny little fox. I need your help. And so I think Olivia shows up and she ends up taking care of her sister and helping her as bills pile up and her interest in accounting dwindles. And yeah, like everything just sucks. Melody becomes like very feral. She's a little feral monster. She gets in fights with Olivia's dog. She chews the furniture. She's just a poorly behaved little gremlin. Um, and so we have Josh. I love this picture. Josh ends up house sitting for Olivia when she's helping Melody. So she's off helping Melody, so Josh house sits for her and all of her plants. And while he's plant sitting, taking care of the plants, they all go crazy. The plants grow wild. They go feral. So she shows up back at her house. And her plants are looking like a goddamn rainforest. And she's like, what the hell is happening here, Josh? And Josh is like, nothing, but actually he's a witch. So eventually, like, it becomes clear that Josh is also magical and he is a little witch, and he helps them learn a bit about familiars and magic. So this is Peaches, Josh's familiar. So we'll talk a little bit about familiars here, right? So they share a soul. So when familiars bond to their witch, their souls meld together. They become one. They have two souls that are just like all mixed together, right? And so what's happening with Melody and Sybil is their souls are melding, because eventually, after Melody fully transforms, Sybil also goes through like a transformation that she needs to figure out to use like glamour to cover up. So Josh is bird, but Peaches is bird. So like, eventually, while Olivia's watching after Melody, Melody starts like trying to escape, and eventually she runs away and she ends up at Sybil's house, and Sybil's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, because let's be real, Olivia wants to murder Sybil after what Sybil has done to her sister. And so she contacts Sybil. She contacts Olivia. Olivia is contacted by Sybil. Right, there we go. And so she's like, I have your sister. I don't know how she got here. Like, please take her back. And so she gets her sister back, and then she takes her home. And then Melody immediately appears back at Sybil's house because they are like connected by the soul, and they can communicate telepathically with each other. So like Sybil can no longer Melody can no longer like talk human, and she stops being able to write out how she's feeling. She started using like emojis to communicate, but now she can like psychically communicate with Sybil. And yeah, Josh basically confirms that their souls are like fused together, and the magic cannot be undone. And with Josh, back to Josh and Peaches, they share a single soul because that's not the answer. His family was killed by a demon. Okay, a demon showed up at Peaches' house, not Peaches. A demon showed up at Josh's house, and Josh had his soul eaten. His parents were deaded, and he lost his soul. But he had Peaches, his familiar, his grandma's bird, and because his soul was so entangled with Peaches' soul, they have a soul to share between them. So Peaches can... What's the deal? So like when you don't have a soul, it affects like your emotions, of course, very Honeywells. It affects your emotions. It affects your ability to create and have memories. um, you just are very disconnected from the world. You're very blank slate. So he has to stay connected with Peaches in order to be like expressive and fun. And he is a cutie. Him and Peaches are cute, I'll be real. And they and Peaches knows that Josh has like a huge crush on Olivia and is really trying to get them to like get together and is really gunning for this. And so she, because of their shared soul, she like uh, what is it? She makes him say stupid things. You know, she can take control of like what they say and speak through him. So Peaches, so without Peaches, he has dissociative disorder. Yeah, exactly. Um, and then he will be like, he'll be so embarrassed by what Peaches is saying and like cut her off magically, and then he has no soul and he goes blank slate. Um, but thankfully, Liv also has like a huge crush on Josh, so things do work out. They were like main ship, one of the main ships in this story. Next, we have Lou. I love this pick. I don't know what it is. So Lou is a half demon sorcerer. So I think it's time to get into sorcery and demons. So demons kind of came out of nowhere in this story, I'll be real. But the basics are that there is a magical world that is unknown to our world. And within the magical world, there are demons and sorcerers and witches. And witches are basically just the poor, okay? There's no real distinction between sorcerers and witches other than one has capital. So we'll get into all of this, but basically Lou comes from a rich family and he is half demon. And he needs to eat souls because he is half demon. He can't fully sustain himself on food alone. And so, in order to make money, in order to get souls, souls are expensive, mind you. He catfishes women on the internet. Well, there's a magical internet called Scrying, but on the magic internet, he sells his relationships to women, to sorcerers, and other people. So, like, let's say you're like a sorcerer who is also in the human world and you don't want to waste time making relationships in the human world. You can just buy one and then he will transfer the relationship over with magic and she won't even know that you are not the same Lou that she was dating. You just transfer over. Um, yeah, he eventually becomes friends with Sybil because Sybil's a great person. But like when Sybil is hanging out with um Melody, she eventually notices like an arcane tattoo on the back of Melody's neck. Because Melody starts putting her hair up to cover the fact that she's like growing a horn, I think, or like maybe her ears are furry or something. I don't really remember. But she sees the magical arcane tattoo and she looks it up and she finds Lou's arcane relationship selling business. Um, and yeah, so that's how they meet. And Lou knows a lot about the magical world, so he's able to help Sybil start navigating that, and that's how they kind of become friends. So let's talk about Lou's four mothers, four characters. So Lou has four moms. His first mom is a sorcerer lawyer. She's not biologically related to him, but they are like close. I believe he calls her mother. Um, he's she's like the most supportive of him. So yeah, so they're not related. Um, yeah. Then he has his mom, who is the partner of the sorcerer lawyer. And she's like a new partner who doesn't like Lou tons because of how Lou came to be. And that's because Lou's mom, his biological mom, is the sorcerer's ex partner. So the second, mom number two, is the sorcerer's new partner, whereas mom number three was her old partner, and that is Lou's biological mother. And Lou's last mother is a transgender succubus who cheated on his first mom with his third mom. So she was a transgender succubus, so she fathered him in like a biological sense, but she is also a mom. So those are mom 3 and 4. I hope you're getting this. Mom 3 and 4 are his biological parents. Mom 1 is like the mom that he likes the most and feels the most pressure to like impress, I guess. And mom number 4 is kind of like all fun all the time, treats him like a sibling, like another cool demon friend. But like they're not close on like a parent child kind of way. So that's Lou's backstory. He's got his 4 moms. And so Seraphine, Jesus Christ. Okay, so what happens with Lou? This is what I talk about. This is what I'm saying when I mean that when I say that this RP went off the rails, this is kind of where it went off the rails. I catch a fun loose live stream and now I hear about a trans succubus. What a beautiful night. So Lou struggles a lot. Like he's in an unsavory business. Like we don't love Lou for that, but Lou needs to get souls. And eventually Seraphine shows up and start outbidding on every soul that Lou is trying to buy and eat. Oh, I forgot to mention that Lou is asexual. He's an asexual half demon incubus. Yes. And he also doesn't want to steal people's souls, so he has to buy them on the internet. And so one day he's finding that like every soul he's trying to buy is outbid, and he needs money, and he's been working on this relationship with Melody and is hoping to sell it really soon to make the money. So he goes and he buys the soul for like an expensive price from Seraphine specifically, because it's like the cheapest one on offer. And so he buys that without having the money, and he is ready to sell his relationship with Melody, but it backfires on him because Sybil turns Melody into a little fox, so he's no longer able to sell the relationship, and he ends up trapped in a debt contract with Seraphine. So Seraphine starts employing him like on commission. So like she has him like hunting souls for her, and he's really bad at it. Like he wants to just do like his normal business, but they don't think it's good enough. And eventually he fails completely at this, and she has him sign up with her company. She doesn't own it. She's like a worker in it, a high-ranking member of this company, and he gets signed into a contract where he will work at this demon company. And that's where he meets Sarah, Gav, Lil, and Sleepy, all demons. So they're fellow employees that are trapped in a contract at this company. It is a debt hell, and they almost praise the founder. So basically, he shows up at this corporate building, and he has to sign a demonic contract that he can't read, and then he goes into training, and they won't let him sleep even though he needs to sleep because he's half human. um and yeah, he has a horrible time of it. They make him delete all of like his contacts from his phones. He says goodbye to like uh Mel Melody, and he says goodbye to Sybil, and he wants to keep some of his contacts, and they get mad at him and they say if he like, like if they want to contact to him, they will, and if he doesn't contact them, he's like, getting blocked out of like contact with anyone. So I believe he deletes all of his contacts because he's really hoping like his mom will get in contact with him, even though he's got like a horrible relationship with all his moms. And then he just suffers in debt hell because we never finished this part of the RP. I'm sorry. Um, I have a feeling it was going to have something to do with the fact that um his mom was special or something. Anyways, so that's the demon side of things. Let's get back to the witches. Okay, we have Nisa. So Nisa is a dog owner and a witch, and she meets Sybil because Sybil has to start buying dog stuff and chew toys because Melody is a ravenous little creature who's like chewing her apartment to bits and just making a mess of things. So she meets Nisa and they start becoming friends. Nisa teaches her all about dogs, and they start dating, and they learn that they're like both witches, and they're like, that's so cool. And Nisa actually used to live in the fairy world. No, not the fairy world. We're not into fairy RPs yet. Nisa used to live in the magical world, and her ex is a sorcerer. And sorcerers are super hecking homophobic and awful. And so Nisa was like in a horrible abusive relationship because like sorcerers are also like horrible to witches. Um yeah, and so like Nisa was going to marry her ex, but then her ex just went and married some guy, and it was like for status, and she just kind of wanted to keep Nisa on the side. She wanted to like have her cake and eat it too, basically. And Nisa eventually escapes the magical world and just tries to live her life and get back into things, but she can't because she is cursed. And the curse is basically that her ex didn't want her getting with anyone else after her. So as soon as Nisa starts dating someone else, a curse starts unfolding, and the curse is that mushrooms, I believe, start growing out of her horrifically. And they spread spores, I think. They spread like a magical spore that is used in love potions. Um, I think we'll get into potions in a bit. But yeah, like she starts rotting and turning into like a wooden golem thing. Are they edible mushrooms? I don't know. I don't think anyone tried to eat them. They're magical mushrooms. So yeah, everything's horrible for Nisa. We don't stand her ex. Um so as the curse becomes clearly a curse and not like a medical issue, um Sybil starts looking into magic and wants to get in contact with a witch coven. And she eventually finds one on Facebook that turns out to be the real deal. And she meets Willow, who is an old witch who lives in the woods. I want a golem girlfriend who gives me free mushrooms. The problem is that it's horrifically painful for for Nisa. It's not a fun time for Nisa. But yeah, so she meets Willow, and Willow has a coven where they live in the woods and they meet on nights of the full moon to create like a barrier, so that sorcerers can't like listen in. So no one can listen in and they can get to their business. It's basically a haven for witches, and it is comprised of people who escaped the magical world. Um, and yeah, so that's where she meets Sybil. And she's like a nice old lady, and she is, yeah. So one of the members of the coven is Melinda. And Melinda is a little teenage witch, and she escaped from the magical world where she was living with a foster family. And she is covered in warts because her foster family had her collecting magical toads in the grounds. So basically, the deal with sorcerers is that they have monopolies over various magical ingredients used to make potent spells. And they exert control on witches who are poor magic users. And yeah, that's the main distinction, is that witches just don't have access to these high level ingredients that are used in high caliber spells. So Melinda is used by her family to collect these frogs, these toads, for spells, because the sorcerers don't want to do it because it's dangerous. So there's a lot of instances like this that we'll go through. But yeah, that's Melinda's deal. Yeah, she was used to harvest toads. Then we have Helen. So Helen escaped from an orphanage, and she used to harvest rainbow silk. She lived at like an orphanage where they would all like collect silk from these spiders to make um, rainbow silk. Yeah, it's fancy sorcery ingredients. And because of this, she became infested with spiders. So the spiders are like highly magically contagious, and they feed on life force, I believe, to create their silk. And she escapes, but she's actually like in huge trouble if she ever goes back to the magical world, because she's infested with spiders and left. She is illegally stealing the spiders. So that is a horrible crime, and she would be imprisoned for it. So basically, all of the orphans are stuck there forever, gathering the silk for the sorcerers to make their fancy like robes and stuff. Um, yeah. So next we have Fiona. I don't really know Fiona's full deal, but she likes to be a cat. She's not a cat, but she takes the form of a cat most of the time. Leave those spiders behind, girl. She's infested. She can't leave them behind. She wishes that she could. But yeah, Fiona likes to live as a cat. I believe that her familiar was killed, and that's why she is a cat. It has something to do with that. I don't know all the details. I didn't write them down. But I think that sorcerers might have killed her familiar, and now she's like a little crazy. And she's sneaky. That too. She's also sneaky. This is why you shouldn't mess with spiders. So yeah, I think that's Fiona's deal. And when they do like their magical ritual and all their glamour goes away, she's kind of like a cat girl, but she prefers to stay as a cat. Or maybe it wasn't that her. Maybe she was. Nah. I'm just gonna say it has something to do with her familiar being killed or something. Next we have Dorothy. So Dorothy escapes during the course of like them talking with the witches. Like they meet her later, and she's like a newly escaped little witch. and she has like teeth that are constantly falling out of her mouth. So she's constantly growing teeth and losing them, and she like spits them into a little cup or a bag. I think she spits them into a bag. Cuz she was cursed when she was bit by a snarl tooth salamander that she used to harvest teeth for in the basement. Um, and she's sad about leaving because she liked her family, even though they kind of sucked. They were kind of like all she knew, which sucks for her. Um, yeah. So moving on into the magical world, we have Anthea. So Anthea is an old witch who is living in the magical world. She is following all of the rules. Um, she doesn't do magic. She doesn't teach magic to the younger generation. She just is a witch, is poor, does her thing. Um, and her granddaughter was actually taken away because they didn't want her teaching her magic. So her daughter is actually Melinda, the Toad girl, who ended up in foster care, and I forgot some stuff about Melinda, but Melinda eventually Willow, the old lady, passes away, and Melinda runs away for a while, and she needs to be tracked down by Nisa and Sybil, and they end up like taking care of her. I remember that. A moment of silence for Bones to process. Listen, I'm also drinking water. But yeah, back to Anthea. Yeah, Anthea misses Melinda. She's very grumpy, and she ends up capturing Melody. So I forget why, but Anthea is like capturing um, familiars. I believe that she does it because, well, what happens is that Melody ends up trying to find a cure for what happened to her and her becoming like a familiar and whatnot. And so she goes into the magical world. Um, Liv does not want her doing this. Olivia is very upset. Um, but yeah, Melody goes and she sneaks into Anthea's garden, and Anthea puts her in a little cage and locks her away. Um, and Sybil cannot figure out where she is. Like, it's a whole plot that I'm forgetting. But yeah, like Anthea is not about other witches. She doesn't like community. She's like, we can't do that or we'll be killed. That's kind of her vibe. Then we have Martin. So this is Anthea's grandson. So she lives with him, or he lives with her, and he takes care of her. Melody's somehow a pretty reckless person for accountant. Well, she is a tiny little gremlin fox at the time that she like runs off and causes chaos. um yeah, so Anthea's grandson. He is not allowed to be a witch, even though he possesses the power of magic. He is not allowed because he is a boy, and boys aren't allowed to be sorcerers or witches in this. They're impressed. We we said no magic for men, and so he's not allowed to be a witch. And his grandmother regrets teaching him to read because he ends up going through all of her books and trying to learn stuff. How dare he? He works really hard. He sells her wares at the market. He's just a little guy. And last but not least, we have Hazel Goldthorn. So Hazel is a vampire. She is also a sorceress, and she runs away from home one day, and she ends up at the market where she runs into Martin. And Martin is like, hello. She's in very fancy robes because, like she's a sorceress, and she collapses. And she starts, she's like starving and in pain and doesn't know what to do. And he gives her an apple, and she thinks it's the best thing ever. And she like scarfs it down. And it turns out that she's never eaten before in her life. She's never eaten before in her life at all. Actually, no, that's not true. Not since she was a child. And she hasn't because when she was a child, she became a vampire, and it was a disgrace to her family. So they use a potion to keep her from fully turning into a vampire. So it stops her from consuming what vampires consume, and it sustains her and gives her life in its place. So she drinks like a potion every day. And because of this, she's become incredibly weak, and she gets sick of this life, and so she runs away, and that's when she meets Martin. And so Martin takes her home, and Thea is like, no vampires in this house. We hate vampires. If you let a vampire live, it'll destroy the forest. You get rid of her, you kill her. Get rid of this vampire. Also, she misgenders Hazel because Hazel's like a trans girl, and so he leaves with Hazel, and he doesn't want to like let her die or kill her or whatever. He's like, I can't do that. I'm sorry, my grandma came off so hard. Like I'll take care of you. And so he does like his best to like take care of her. He goes back home. His grandma starts growing garlic and stuff, and it's like, you can't have vampires around, they'll destroy the whole forest. And so he learns that as a vampire, she needs to eat blood oranges. They're like a rare magical fruit. And so he learns that the Goldthorn Manor is the only. Oh, wait. He learns that the Goldthorn Orchard, owned by the Goldthorns, is the only place where you can acquire a blood orange. So he starts looking for work as like someone who picks fruit, and he starts working on a sorcerer's farm, picking fruit for them, and eventually he spots where the blood oranges grow. And over the course of this time, like Hazel is slowly starting to die because she can't live on just like regular fruit. She's a fruit bat vampire. I hope that's clear. But like she like apples and stuff aren't doing it for her, and she's slowly starting to die. And he's like, oh god, okay, it's time. I have to steal this fruit. So he goes to the blood orange tree, and he goes and he grabs the blood orange. And when he grabs it, a tendril comes out from the orange tree, and it grabs him back, and he's stung by all of these thorns. And so he comes back with the blood orange, and he gives it to Hazel, and she starts like coming back to life. And he's like, oh, thank goodness. But when he goes home, he is overwhelmed by the smell of garlic, and he starts turning into a vampire, and his grandma kicks him out. Because basically the blood orange tree is what turns people into vampires. And it's like a magical tree, and it turns you into a vampire, and it makes you have to eat its fruit so that you can spread its seeds, basically. You become a little fruit bat. And it's a very dangerous tree. Like his grandma actually said, she was correct. It would have been nice if she explained this to him, and they could have like harvested a blood orange properly, but as the seeds spread, they can like take over like the whole forest and turn everything into vampires and just wipe things out. So, yeah, that's the story of them. We never continued from there. So, that's kind of where we leave it. Uh is there anything I missed in any of this? Cuz that's all the stories that I've got for today cuz I did the science one and I did the which familiar one. I think we have 4 more slideshows to get through. I can't do them today because I, one, didn't finish them, and two, my voice is done. But yeah, I think these are some of the shortest ones too, because we have the 4 fairy kingdoms, which I kind of need to re-listen to like my videos on to remember. We have the 4 fairy kingdoms. We have the fairy tale RP. We have the allergy RP. That one's incredibly short. And then we have the less evil fairy RP. So yeah, we have 4 left. That's crazy, guys. Whew. Been talking forever. Cause yeah, I think that's it then. Because if there's no questions, then I can just see y'all maybe tomorrow. It depends on if I finish it or not. Here, I'm going to put the goodbye little thing on. But goodbye. I did put that on, right? And okay, good. All right. I will see you guys. Goodbye.